So tell me when you're recording.
Okay, this is Douglas DeBecker with Fallen Rhythm Institute. We're here with 2feather. He's been teaching healers around the world for a few decades in Native American healing and other techniques that work. Welcome, 2feather.
Thank you very much. My name is 2feather with no S, so that we don't get confused about where I came from.
Okay, what would you like to speak about today?
Well, I think might be a good bit to have a little background on why I'm the one here speaking today.
That sounds great. Please tell us.
Very good. I trained 10 years with 3 teachers as an apprentice. And then one day, the first teacher says, sit down on a blanket. So we sit down on a blanket, 2 of us facing each other. And the teacher puts his hand up like this and says, representing scissors cutting a cord, which is a silver cord from your third eye. And my teacher says, you are no longer my apprentice, you are now my equal. And from that day forward, that's the way it is. And then about a month or 2 later, my second teacher cut the cord. And I'm going, what's going on here? You know, I had 2 teachers a month ago, and now I got 1 teacher. 2 of my teachers cut the cord. And then it wasn't a few more weeks later, my third teacher cut the string. So within a couple of months, 10 years of training all culminated into about 2 or 3 months of 3 teachers cutting the string from that time forward. And that was probably a couple of decades ago.
All right, well, could I ask you a question?
Please do.
So in the Native American tradition, what is the protocol for finding a teacher? How do you get a teacher?
Well, that's a very good place to start. Because here I am with 3 teachers for 10 years, one person, 2feather. And I know people that have been searching their whole life for a teacher and have none and get buried 6 feet under the ground with no teacher. So part of that is understanding the law and the protocol of having a teacher, and that's what I'm going to discuss right now. The first major protocol rule is you can ask a teacher 4 times, and that is to honor the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. If you ask a teacher 5 times, you're a wise guy, and all the time you invested in maybe becoming an apprentice, he'll just say, you're dismissed, don't call me back. Or she, it could be a she as well. So the first rule is when somebody who thinks they want to be a student approaches me, and they come and say, hey, boy, I sure been looking for a teacher. You're a teacher, how about being my teacher? And I'll say, thank you very much, you're dismissed, don't come back. And the reason is because when you go to ask a teacher, you have to bring tobacco. So if you don't even know enough to not even bring tobacco, you're so green behind the ears, it's really going to take a lot to teach you, rather than somebody who already has a little bit of knowledge about the protocol of having a teacher. And that's what we're covering right now. So the first protocol is you bring a gift, and tobacco is a traditional gift. So you could ask, why tobacco?
Okay, why tobacco?
Because why a quartz crystal? Why tobacco? Because each one of them has their own medicine. And if I want tobacco medicine, I'll call upon that medicine. If I want deer medicine or coyote medicine or water coyote medicine, I'll call on that medicine. But when you start asking on two medicines, you get confused. Which medicine are you asking about? So the idea is you ask about one medicine at a time. And the medicine you're asking about now, as you want to be an apprentice, is you have to give them a gift of tobacco. Now, I learned that with my first teacher, but then later on, I learned that you have to give them more gifts in order to keep them interested. Because when I got my teachers, they pointed at me and said, "You, come with me." And what we're talking about now is somebody who wants a teacher and is making their best efforts to go get a teacher. So I'm giving you the law, the rules, the protocol about how do you ask for a teacher. And by now it should be apparent the first thing is you bring tobacco. And so we asked, why tobacco? Because the medicine of tobacco is retention of memory. That's what tobacco does. It keeps memory. And that's the medicine of tobacco. So when I'm coming to the teacher with a tobacco piece like this, it's usually smoking tobacco, and each little piece of tobacco inside the smoking bag, which there'll probably be thousands of them, is like a holographic picture. If you have a holographic picture and you drop it on the ground, all the little pieces have the whole picture in it. And that's the same concept that we're dealing here right now. Each one of them little pieces of tobacco inside that big bag of tobacco that's only you can hold in your hands has thousands and thousands of prayers because tobacco keeps memory. That's why tobacco. Now, the other thing is you bring tobacco and a Pendleton blanket, which Indians love Pendleton blankets, or maybe a Hudson Bay blanket, who knows? You bring that, and then I know that you got some background and you're savvy enough to bring me a Pendleton blanket and tobacco. And now I'll say, who is this person? They're bringing me tobacco. They're bringing me Pendleton blanket. Now, of course, if you want to get scrimpy, you could bring a saddle blanket. That's a Pendleton. At least you're going in the right area. It's a one up you on the tobacco. If you want a two up you on the tobacco, it's a real Pendleton blanket. So for a pony blanket, it's like $50. So if you're only $50 worth of interested as me and a teacher, I say thank you very much, but I'll dismiss you. And after I dismiss you, you now know that you can come 4 times to the teacher. So actually that's a good thing because at least the teacher's listening to you because you brought the tobacco and a pony blanket from Pendleton, you got their attention. And now they dismissed you. And now when you come back again, they're saying, he knows something. She knows something. Okay, so I come back again and let's say I brought the pony blanket Pendleton first. It's a little one where 2 people can sit on. The second time I bring tobacco and Pendleton blanket. And the teacher's going, you're dismissed. And you are going, oh man, so the teacher's doing this. If any teacher's worth their salt, they're not just going to take you on first thing. Oh, I want a teacher. Okay, you can be my student. It don't work like that. And if it does, you pay $2 for a blanket in the thrift store and you pay $199 for a Pendleton blanket from Pendleton, then guess what? Your name might be 2 dogs licking a pine cone. You bring me a $2 blanket and think that that's going to be acceptable, and then that's who you are, and that's the way you're going to put effort, and that's the way you're going to learn. I don't got time for you because I want to spend the time on somebody who's going to take the teachings and go back to their communities and serve their community. Because the students get mixed up a lot of time and think that I'm here to train them. I'm not, although I am. I'm training them, but the reason why I'm training them is because with the training that I train them in, they go back to their communities and they use the training, and that's who I'm training them for, the people in the communities. So there we go. Now they've already been 3 times. So on the medicine wheel, there's 4 directions. So now you've been 1 time with a Pendleton pony blanket and tobacco. You've been the second time with the tobacco and a Pendleton blanket, and the third time you're coming with a buffalo skull that you spent 3 months on with a needle, scraping all the little pieces out and then varnishing it and putting some turquoise pieces on it and a couple of nice amethyst eyeballs or something like that, because you're only going to get 4 times. And then on the fourth time, that's the time when a teacher that's worth their salt may or may not accept you. But if you come back 5 times, they won't talk to you again. So this is part of understanding the law, because now that you're being showed what the law is, at least you got a struggling chance of, whoops, possibly getting a teacher. So I'm going to have my little bit of Arizona tea, because I love that with a little ginseng and honey. And I'll go back to more protocol about how do you get a teacher. So now we know you have to have a gift. Secondly, we know they're going to reject you for sure the first couple of times. Otherwise, a student might raise their eyebrow and say, why is this teacher taking me the second time I came? And all I brought him was a pony blanket and tobacco. I don't think this teacher is really worth all my energy I'm going to be spending and all my hard knocks, because that's what I call my training, the School of Hard Knocks, 10 years. If I did something wrong, they'd really love to rap me on the head. Where's that rapper? Oof! And yes, it hurts. And if you say anything, guess what? Oof, oof, on the same place. And that hurts even more. So what? I do that to a millennial and I'll have a lawsuit. That's so what. So we're getting pretty in depth now, and I'm maybe getting a little bit too specific about one thing. So what direction would you like to go in now?
Well, so you said about how to get a teacher. Is there anything, so other than giving them gifts, coming back up to 4 times, what other qualifications to be an apprentice?
No, you do not get your gift back. The teacher keeps it.
Yes, no, I know. That's not what I meant to say. What qualifications, what other qualifications do you need to be an apprentice, or what other things are required to get the teacher?
Very good. We could start off with the P word, passion. The teacher will be assessing your passion at the thing that you're expressing to them. They want to become a student, and the teacher is going to be measuring your passion. So you just take out this little yardstick ruler like that, and you know, it's 10 inches. The teacher will decide what's 10 inches, and the teacher will decide your level of passion. And that's one of the first things I look at. And the other thing I look at is this person a wise guy? So how would you know if he's a wise guy? I might pose a question like, okay, I'm thinking in my mind, I got somebody here that seems like they may be of interest. I'm going to check them out a little more in depth. So I would say to them when they brought me a gift, I'm going to ask you a question, and I would like you to give me the answer as soon as possible without thinking it. And they'll say, okay. And I said, nod your head yes or no instead of talking to me, please. So with a nod, that means yes, and they understand the protocol now, because the teacher sets the protocol, and he's looking to see, or she is looking to see how much you can understand what they're saying, because teachers don't like saying the same thing twice. Trust me. I know. So go ahead, lead me on a little more, and let's see where we're going.
Sure, I was asking about the qualifications to be an apprentice.
Very good. And we started off with passion. So the teacher is going to be looking at your passion level and your level of interest and your level of conviction. And one, you brought tobacco. Two, you brought a Pendleton pony blanket. It means at least you know something. and they could turn you down easily. And then they're going to see if you're going to come back again. That's part of the deal. So what else qualifies an apprentice? I mean, bloodline has a lot to do with it. Who your father and mother were, who their fathers and mothers were, who you're related to, whose name will endorse you. Like I was sent by Nantan Nupan Grey Wolf to come and ask you about being my teacher. And then I said, oh, wow. If Grey Wolf sent me, then if Grey Wolf sent you, then now you have a place to give me a gift, which I'm sure they're going to turn you down for. So the student, the way they're dressed, the look of their health, like right now, I have real pale skin because I've not been feeling very well lately. And the first thing I do is I assess the health value of the person who's giving the presentation. And we've been making a lot of effort to make this presentation work, and my face was nice and colored and flushed when we started this a little while ago. And now my face is pale because it's getting real late at night, and I only got about 5 minutes left to record.
Okay, so what does respect mean between a teacher and apprentice and an apprentice? What does respect mean?
Very good. What does respect mean between the teacher and apprentice? Well, one good word would be subordinate. Two good things would be you don't ask dumb questions. Three would be you don't ask no questions at all. I'll tell you when to ask a question and when not to ask a question. And if all the rules below don't work, then you have Article 21 of the UCMG that says all other of my requests will be honored. So I think you're starting to get the picture here. You're the one who shuts up and closes your mouth while you open your ears, and the teacher closes his ears and opens his mouth, and that's when you respectfully absorb the teachings that you come there to find out about.
So what are the consequences then of disobeying the protocol or not following what you're calling the law?
Oh! That's the kind of protocol I grew up with, but the kind of protocol you're going to deal with. If you ask me a wise guy question, I'm going to say your name is now deleted from this account and you cannot come back here again. And then, of course, the administration will block that email and that person will not be able to come back again, because I take wise guys one time and one time only. Because the first time's shame on them. The second time is shame on you. Because if you think you're going to do the same thing and get a different result, guess what? You're going to get the same result when you do the same thing. That's the nature of having a teacher.
Okay, I know you have to go to sleep, and I really appreciate you taking the time. We spent several hours getting our computers linked up and all this stuff working. I have one more question, if that's okay with you. Is that okay?
Let's do it this way. Let's take 9 more minutes and then we can end this session.
Sounds good. So my question is, what does water coyote medicine mean? Water coyote medicine.
Okay, water coyote medicine is interesting. Deer medicine is interesting. Beaver medicine is interesting. Elk medicine, snake medicine, woodpecker medicine, they're all interesting. But the thing about them, and the commonality is they all have a theme that they run with. And that theme is what we're talking about right now, water coyote medicine, because coyote is a trickster. Oh, the trickster. I knew that. I heard that plenty of times. And I said, well, what else do you know? Oh, well, that's what I know. Okay. Well, the other part of the medicine is in that narrow frame of concentration is that the coyote is also the teacher. And because the writing's right on the wall in front of you, and you're not reading the wall in front of you writing, then I'm going to come and nip you in the left buttocks. And then I'm going to go around the front and I'm going to nip you in the right ankle. And I'm going to reach up and I'm going to pull your ear. And when you're getting around all twisted and all confused like that, the coyote jumps on you and then shoves the lesson down into you. And they tricked you into learning what you won't read on the wall because you need to learn this now so we can get on to the next part of the program. But the water coyote is so clever that they'll get a water hose and they'll shoot the sand off the dirt off the bottom of where you're standing. And if you don't have a place to stand on, you fall down. So the water coyote is kind of the counter to the coyote. You water coyote him, and then he can't stand on the ground anymore and he can't trick you. But then you short-sighted yourself, shortchange yourself for getting the lesson because you're a wise guy and you interrupted them, and then they're not going to want to teach you no more, and then you're dismissed. And trust me, you only get dismissed once. If a teacher dismisses you twice, you got the wrong teacher.
Okay. There's one more thing I'd like to ask you, and that would be, how do you define healing in the Native American tradition?
You have to speak a little louder so I can hear your question.
How do you define the word healing? How do you define the concept of healing in Native American tradition?
Okay, I'll put it to you as plainly as I can without being too much of a wise guy because I'm enticed now to be a wise guy. But when people pray, they usually say, okay, I got a broken arm and I want the arm to be healed. When people pray, they say, oh, please, whoever Mookie Bookie you're talking about, come and fix my broken arm. I want you to come and do it. And guess what? Your broken arm doesn't get fixed. And oh, I'm so surprised. In the Native American way, when we pray, it's more of a conceptual situation. I pray for the day that I'm sitting out in the patio and the sun's out hot and I'm under the shade with a cool glass of lemonade, bringing it to my mouth or reaching my hand out in a gesture of acceptance and kindness to another person. So I pray about the concept. So rather than saying, I pray for the broken arm to be fixed, I would say, I pray for the feeling when I'm kicked back and I take my Arizona cooler out on a hot day and I pour it over the ice and then drink it. So then you're praying over the concept, not over the broken arm. So I could say that in 1,000 different ways, but this cuts to the chase. So you got about 6 minutes left. Choose your questions wisely.
Well, let's see. I have lost my connection, I think. Can you hear me? Yep, we lost our connection. So I'm going to say thank you and end this here.